All right, it's 8:30. I'm going to call a meeting of the Grafton Finance Committee to order. It's Saturday, March 12th, 8:30 a.m. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to the open meeting law that allows us to do a virtual meeting on Zoom. This meeting is also being recorded. My name is Mark Haddad. I'm chair of the Finance Committee. I'd ask our members to please introduce yourselves. We'll start with you, Greg.
Greg Marr.
Skip.
Roger Courier.
Sue.
Sue Robbins.
Andy.
Andy Jefferson.
Heather.
Heather McHugh.
Angelina.
Angelina Correa.
All right, so we have a pretty packed agenda before us today, so we'll try to start flying through this. We're very fortunate to have a new treasurer collector, Madeline Goodrich, here this morning with us. Madeline, thank you for taking time out of your Saturday to join us. We will make this as painless as possible for you.
Thank you.
Oh, Dan Kusher has just joined us as well.
Thank you.
So Madeline, I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to start with debt or do you want to start with your department budget? We'll do whatever you want to do.
Let's start with my department budget. There weren't too many changes in it, so I think it'll be a little quicker.
Let me get that up here on the, can everybody see that all right? First of all, I want to thank Sue for taking all of the budgets and putting it in a nice format that we can follow here online. Everybody can see the screen okay? Yes, no, maybe? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, one thing, since we'll be sharing the screen as we usually do, I'd ask you to please raise your hand if you have a question. That way I can recognize you because all your faces do not pop up on my screen when we're sharing it. So, so Madeline, if you want to just walk us through your budget, any highlights you want to call out, anything you want to talk to us about, number of employees, things like that, whatever you want to do, it's up to you.
Okay.
We're very easy to deal with.
Okay. So it looks like we're at the top near salaries. So we are a 4-person department, including myself. We have one part-time individual. Most of the salary increases were the normal 2%, and then just normal contractual salary increase for myself. I do have an overtime line because we do sometimes run into our busy time where, you know, our part-time person will stay an extra 30 minutes or whatever we need them to stay for.
So the hours, the hours, if I can interrupt, the hours of operation at the town hall, we're open, what, one night now?
Yeah, so Tuesday night is the late night and we stay open until 7.
How's that been? Have you get a lot of activity at the counter?
There's been a little bit, a fair share. Definitely it's increased more around our due date times. So I'm anticipating with excise going out that we'll have a heavier flow during that nighttime coming up.
When am I going to get depressed when I open my mail? When are those excise tax bills coming out?
Our excise tax bills, the bill date is 3/18. So
Next
they'll be
week?
coming. Yep.
Is it too late to change my address? No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
You could talk to the assessor about that.
Anybody have question on salaries for Madeline? All right, that's pretty straightforward. Expenses?
Expenses stayed pretty much the same. The only places that it really changed was in our professional and technical. We are changing over softwares, and I'm also changing over our bill print. So just moving to Vadar, and I'm going to bring all of our bill print over to Kelly and Ryan instead of just with Bill Trust.
So we're seeing a savings by doing that.
I am still waiting for an update from Kelly and Ryan, but it should be, I think it's going to increase a little bit, probably back to what it was the previous year. The thing that's tough with them is they can't give me like a straight shot on postage, and postage seems like it is more than the actual bill printing to mail bills. They had given me pricing, which I actually have right here. So Kelly and Ryan, their pricing is 38 cents per piece of mail, but he could only give me a range for the postage because it depends on the time of the rate that they get.
in terms of collection wise with tax bills and everything else, how are we doing with the lockbox? Are more people utilizing that? Are you getting more traffic in the town, more mail to the town? How's that? What's the breakdown percentage wise? You know that off the top of your head?
I don't have it percentage wise. I could just give you a general answer on that.
Sure.
So our lockbox is always constantly flowing. We do have the cutoff date on our lockbox, so they really only can submit to them up into a certain date after the due date. And then all after that, they have to come in person. So the same thing for our online Unibank payments. They can only pay up to a certain time because we don't really want to, I don't want to get into them trying to calculate interest for us. So I'd rather the individuals come in and we apply the interest to anything that's late.
So you do that because that probably makes sense, because then somebody doesn't pay the right amount of money and you're trying to figure that all out. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
To do it that way. Tax title, how are we doing with collections? What's our collection rate?
So I don't have a percentage on that. They've been steadily flowing in. We've actually had some changes with our tax title since I started as well. Our tax title attorneys actually split up. So I had to choose between staying with one of them or choosing somebody completely different. So it was D'Ambrosio Brown. D'Ambrosio went on his own, and so didn't Peter Brown. So after going through a couple meetings with them and then meeting with them and the finance director, we decided to stay with Peter Brown. So it felt like they had a little bit more of a handle on our accounts. His paralegal stayed with him, and she was the one that we were working most with. So she had a lot of great information. The rates aren't changing with that or anything. So everything was staying the same cost wise.
Evan, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that tax title is definitely a place that we need to focus on. So since Madeline came on, we've been looking at that harder. Obviously going through the split that Madeline was just talking about, but I think that probably by the end of summer, we'll have better collection rate data. But we'll also have data on payment plans, parcels that we might be interested in going through the tax title process, as well as ones that we just note are probably going to stay in tax title until there's a change of ownership. So
Let me ask a question, because this is something that we've done very, very successfully. We've done tax title or tax foreclosure sales, where we've taken all the properties in tax title and put it out to bid, and somebody's third party has come in, bought all of the liability and paid everything off, and then they're responsible for collecting, and we're out of the business. It's a nice infusion of cash. Have you had any experience with that, Madeline? Is that something you would consider?
I have not had any experience with it. It's definitely something I would consider. I've heard other communities doing that. And just like Evan said, this tax title portion is something that I've kind of been looking into since I started. Even just for payment plan collections, it's not something that's been done in the past year.
Yep.
So I'm trying to line that up and at least get some more more received on each property, even if it's not completely paying it off.
If you want some more information on how successful or the process that we've used and how we've done it, feel free to reach out and I'll put you in touch with my treasurer. And you can talk to her and she'll walk you through the process. It's been very, as a matter of fact, I think we're planning on doing another one in the next couple of months. So it's been hugely successful.
Okay,
So
great.
just something to think about. Anybody have questions on tax title or anything like that? All right. Office supplies, in-state travel, and dues and memberships pretty much level funded. So anybody have any questions on expenses for Madeline? All right, Madeline, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and if you want to share yours and walk us through debt, I'd appreciate it. Dan, are you in the basement again?
I am. Gotta keep warm down here.
Okay, so can you guys all see that?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is my FY23 debt schedule. So it goes line by line by issuance year. This is one of the attachments that was sent over to you this morning. Down at the bottom, it kind of totals everything out. So it's saying, you know, what's coming from our general fund, what's excluded debt, and it's all pulled together down here.
So one of the things, Madeline, when Angelina and I met with you, I had asked the question why we pay BVT as a separate line item and not part of the assessment to them. Were you able to find out an answer on that, or am I just so confused it just doesn't matter?
No, so I did look into that. So BVT did the expansion. So that's the portion of our debt is that project. We do actually make the payment with the assessment payment, but we had to borrow to make our portion of the debt. So it's included.
Oh,
In our
okay.
debt
So it wasn't, otherwise it would have been part of the assessment, but we didn't have it. Okay, that makes sense. All
Right.
Thank
right.
you for clarifying that for me.
No problem.
Where are we in terms of the borrowing for the library and the borrowing for the DPW garage? How are we doing on that?
So we are currently actively in the works of going out to ban again for the library. We actually have our bond call and our pre-bond call meeting coming up next week. That we actually were able to meet with MLBC to kind of get more of our numbers to bring us a little closer. So for the library, the MLBC grants are coming in. And our bans are only expected to be about 4 to 5 years. So starting in May or June, they could only give us a rough estimate. We're supposed to get about $908,000 from MLBC. So that's not going to be included in this upcoming ban because we'll just make the payment directly right when we get the 908.
Do you have a forecast on when you would do permanent bonding on both those projects?
So we're going to be about 4 to 5 years out. So probably on that 5th year, we would start looking into a bond for that.
So when you do the bans, and we're not doing a permanent bond issue, we don't have to go through the whole bond prospectus and all that stuff and the Wall Street review and everything just to do the ban, right?
Well, so that was new for me this year. And I actually learned a lot from our FA that I had never had to go out and do bond rating calls for bans. This one, we're going to have to go out and do a bond rating call because the ban's actually so much. And doing that bond rating call is going to it's going to benefit us. You know, we'll have to pay for the call, but we should be getting more back after doing the call.
So Evan, do you anticipate a bond rating increase as we go through this? We got our financial policies in place. We got good reserves. We have some growth coming down the pike. Do you see an increase in our bond rating?
I'm hesitant to say yes. You know, we have a pretty strong bond rating already, and I don't know if the changes we've made are going to push us over to get us to that next step. I definitely think, I mean, we're in much better shape than we were a year ago with our policies and some of the you know, targets that we've been able to hit. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to get us, you know, past AA+.
It's a unique opportunity while doing a ban to have an opportunity to have the bond rating review. So I think this is a great opportunity for the town.
Oh yeah, well,
I'm kind of glad that that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, we always, you know, we always put our best effort into it. So I think if it's possible to come out of this with a better rating, we will. I don't know if you know, S&P's going to look at what we've done as enough to move us to the next step.
Well, Madeline, if you do get that bond rating increase to AAA, you take full credit for it as the new treasurer. All right. Don't let Evan and Mary step on your toes.
100%. That can be Madeline.
Are there any, go ahead, Sue Robbins.
I just wanted to ask Madeline, you may have mentioned it, I was looking at numbers. When do our reimbursements for the library start coming in?
So the reimbursements, we've already been getting them. So in 2019, we received about 460,000. this past June of 21, we received 1.8 million. And then coming up this May to June, we'll receive another 908,000.
Okay. Thank you. I thought I heard you correctly, but I wanted to make sure. Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead, Angelina.
I'm sure you've already talked about this. I'm just curious, with the interest rates now being a little wonky and all this talk about them going up, is there any, like, are you moving a little faster on anything that might be coming up in the next year or two? Or are you just, is that not how we handle it in government? We just kind of wait and see what happens?
So do you want to go ahead, Evan?
No, you can, if you've got
Okay.
that, go ahead,
So-
Madeline.
Yeah, I did talk to Evan actually about this a little bit, and I asked about refinancing or anything like that coming up, and that's not anything currently in the works. We did Evan, Mary, and the previous treasurer did all of the refinancing last April, so they were kind of ahead of the game in all of these interest rate changes.
Awesome. Good.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Evan, did you want to add anything to that?
I was just gonna say that most of our debt was restructured, like literally, I think our bond call was actually the week before I started, maybe, or the first week I was here. So we were able to restructure all that debt. All of the other debt that we have, there's really no good opportunity to do a large bond to try to stay ahead of the interest rates, only because of the influx of money from MBLC and other factors. And I think that the fire truck, the other piece of debt that we have is that fire truck. I think it's only 5 years. I think we're, with the ban rates probably outperforming the bond rates, we probably will just ban that down until it's paid. So.
Yeah, we have a philosophy called ban as long as you can. And,
Yep,
that's a good philosophy, because you're right. The interest rates are so much better.
Yep.
Than doing the permanent financing. So that's outstanding. Any other questions for Madeline? Madeline, we were painless, right? Easy, fresh.
No, it
big
was
deal?
great. I'm
Awesome.
happy to be, more involved in the process. So it was nice to meet with all of you and kind of get to share on my own.
Awesome. So thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday morning to come meet with us. I hope you have a great rest of the weekend. And again, if you ever want to talk about tax title, let me know and I'll get you all hooked up on that.
Okay. Yeah, I will absolutely reach out. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks. Let's see. Madeline, if you could stop sharing, that would be awesome. Thank you. I see Tammy is here. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Just we're all, look at all these cheery faces on an early Saturday morning. It's just a great morning. Let me put my get my screen up here. I'll get right down to, there we are, assessors. So welcome. Thank you for being here. And if you want to just walk us through your budget, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, so there are 3 board members, and there's a $500 stipend per year for that. There's my salary that increased from the previous assessor, about 15%. We have the salary line for the administrative personnel. That would be my old position, and a data collector.
That's 2 full-time positions there, Tammy?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We do have some money for overtime. We don't really utilize the overtime too much. We like to, try and keep it below that amount. That's just been how we've always worked the entire time I've been in that office. The longevity is gone. That's what I was previously getting. And then if we move down to the professional and technical, that's for our the cost for our vision software We have our personal property software, which is the RRC. We have to pay for plans through the Registry of Deeds. The MLS is a multiple listing service that gets paid once a year. We do our map updates, and any field card review would come out of that line item for the 27.5. Then if we move down to the interim year adjustments, we have RRC doing our wireless or our cell tower utility valuations. Vision does our commercial and industrial adjustments. And we also pay RRC to do all of our personal property collection. They're actually out right now doing our collection for personal property. The next line item is employee training seminar fees. That would be for any of our continued education and also any new employees who want to take any of the courses and work towards their designations. That would come out of that. We also have clerks workshops for both the MAO and Worcester County assessors. Our office supplies, mostly just your normal office supplies. We do need to replace our measuring tapes and our lasers that we use for inspections every couple of years. Those are the bigger things that we have to purchase. In-state travel, that's mileage for reimbursement for some of those classes, depending on where they're located. And then the next one is our dues and membership for Worcester County Assessors and the Mass Assessors Association.
Anybody have questions on the salaries or the expenses with the assessors? So Tammy, in terms of, the biggest issue that, of course, we always like to hammer Evan on is new growth and how much more is he going to add to the tax base and everything else. Where are you with your review of that? I know you have through June, but how's that going so far this year?
Right now, I'm in the process of entering all the new growth we're doing. I'm in the process of getting the maps updated. We have a couple big developments. Right now, I'm trying to put in the ridings. It's in Westboro. It comes into Grafton down by Adams Road. That's about, I think it was 36 lots. We have about 6 to 8 lots going in over on Wheeler Road. So all of that will add some growth. But right now I'm in the process of just trying to get all of that into the system.
So you're comfortable with the number that Evan's carrying in the budget for next year so far?
I believe we can hit that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Tammy on the assessors regular operating budget? So then I guess we have the MIS that you're responsible for, I'm assuming.
No, that's me.
that's
That
you.
we don't, yeah, we
I'm
don't
sorry.
do that.
I saw MIS next on the list, so I wasn't sure.
Yes.
So Evan, it's all yours, brother.
Okay. So it went up. No, we're looking at, I bumped the IT maintenance line up from 150 to 200. A lot of that is what I project is going to be an increase from the tech in the library and maintaining that site. I would say probably a good 30,000 of that is what I'm projecting there. And then the 20,000 is just, the other 20,000 is really just me anticipating some of the upcoming projects we need in the IT realm. Replacement of old switches. We've got some patch management stuff we're going to bring online. We're switching from Google to Office 365. There's a number of projects in there that is what I'm projecting.
Let me ask you a question. In terms of IT, we sub it out. Have you thought about bringing that in-house and having your own IT department?
Yes, I have. I don't know if we're going to do it in this fiscal year, but it's definitely something that we're eyeing right now. I have had some preliminary conversations with Dr. Cummings about maybe a shared resource that may help. One of the things I think we're really close to we have enough work for a full-time IT person, especially with the library. So, you know, I think we're right on the cusp of whether or not we pull the trigger on that in this year, or if we wait for the following fiscal year while we have a little more time to get some of that infrastructure straightened out.
The responsiveness for the third-party vendor is okay for now. You guys don't have many issues.
No, I mean, some people don't like that they're only in town 1 day a week. You know, in 2022, a lot of stuff can be done remotely. And I don't really, you know, need to pay a tech to come out and sit around and fix printers and stuff, you know, every day. I'd rather just have them come out and troubleshoot it all in one. So, I mean, I like them. So this is, if you remember, this is a vendor I have a lot of experience with. So, I mean, I have all of their cell phone numbers. I can call them up and, you know, we can navigate things pretty quickly. So, we're going to be going back out to bid in the spring. And so, you know, I guess in theory we could have a new vendor, but we're rewriting that RFP entirely as far as what we're looking for a managed service. And then depending on what that comes in at, I think depends on, or will drive whether I'm looking at trying to get a dedicated staff or whether we're going to continue with the contracted services.
Because $200,000 budget for that, including salaries, expenses, and the like, that's a pretty good budget for an IT department. And if you share services with the school department, you know, that might even be better and gives you more control. So it is something to consider. So did you have a question? So Roberts, I see you here. Oh, sorry. Tammy, I want to apologize to you. I moved on to the next budget and kind of left you sitting there. So
That's okay.
I'm very sorry. First of all, welcome to your, well, you've been here forever, but welcome to your new position.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that. We
Thank you.
wish you the best of luck. And we also thank you very, very much for taking time out of your Saturday to come in and meet with us. So
Not
thank
a
you very, very
problem.
much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Anybody have questions for Evan on IT? Any interest on that? Andy, I'm surprised you don't have like 1,000 questions. So you got nothing? You got nothing?
No, you know, so I was, believe it or not, I was gonna push about, you know, whether that consulting contract or getting somebody in-house and what made sense there. But you guys did a good job of covering it. So I am sitting here quietly.
Nothing from you, Greg?
Geez, Mark, just let it go, man. I'm like, I'm off the hook.
Well,
over here.
I'm doing all the talking, and I think people are sick of listening to me. So I'm just trying to branch out.
I'm off the hook over here eating some pancakes, and here's Greg. Just nobody has anything to grill this guy on.
Yeah,
No.
The only question I had was, we have the Vadar hosting fee. Was there a similar one for the previous software? Or was that just bundled into the line, just wasn't called out before?
It was just bundled into the line and not called out before. So again, and we've talked about this briefly. That's something you'll see moving forward is, you know, a great diminishment of the P&T lines and the other lines that kind of lump everything together. And in my opinion, you know, definitely degrade our transparency. And so you'll see either new lines being called out, or you'll see on individual lines, you know, line item breakdowns as a subcategory.
Yeah, I see
So-
that on the IT maintenance line. That's nice.
Yeah, that's a work in progress. We're getting there on that. Just to talk about IT for a second. So I want to go out to bid first, because what happened to us last time we went out to bid is the managed services that the town was looking for was greatly increased. And I want to make sure that we can afford to get all of the security and offsite management that I think we need. That's a priority to me over having an internal employee. We had some huge gaps in security. So that's why my plan is in that order and not reversed of looking to hire and then go out.
And then the conversion, Mary, the conversion to Vadar is going well.
Yes. The motor vehicle, personal property, and real estate are all live now. And I'm working on the chart of account conversion. I'll be breaking out a lot of those funds. Like currently we have a Fund 20, which houses the school and town, state and federal grants. So though that will all be culled out into 4 separate funds. The same thing with your Fund 29. You have reserve receipts, you have agency funds in there. You have revolving funds and you have special revenue funds. So they will all be separated into their own funds. And I'm currently working with Vadar on those number structure.
Sue Fiacco, I see you have your hand up. I'm sorry I didn't call on you.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to, with the changes I think that Evan and Mary are working on, I put MIS onto assessors, and obviously for next year, we will make sure that's taken off. I also have GIS on, I believe, conservation. So just, I guess, through Evan, we just leave that one alone and he'll deal with that at a later date, and I'll take that off there in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and
Greg?
I can.
Oh, sorry,
if-
go ahead, Evan.
Sorry, if you want, there's no real major changes to the GIS line. So next year you won't see MIS GIS like that. We don't know why it's categorized that way. It doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense where it falls in our chart and under departments. So
Right.
you'll see a called out technology budget next year that'll itemize this stuff out. It even confuses Mary and I when we're trying to work on the budget,
Yeah.
where the heck we're supposed to be putting things. So you'll see that'll be a change you'll see in the next cycle.
I think I'd try the transparency so far this year during the budget review has been fantastic. So thank you for that. Greg, go ahead.
I was happy to see the equipment line talking about a annual basis for computer replacement as opposed to lump sums replacing everything all at once. So I think that's helpful.
Excellent. Dan?
So you mentioned some security concerns. Did you say those are being addressed or have been addressed?
They are addressed to my satisfaction on an emergency basis. So we replaced firewalls, switches, some of the switches. We also installed what's called an SMA device to offload some of our incoming traffic for VPN clients for when we do have to go remote. And we do have a lot of, as technology marches on, you get a lot more of remote access through static IPs and VPNs and stuff. So we've been working on that. When I started, we had holes in our security you could drive a truck through. We had no patch management. I had a whole bunch of machines running Windows 7.
Windows 7?
Yeah.
Oh
No,
my
sorry,
God.
I had one Windows 7. Let me rephrase. The rest were Windows 10. Not a heck of a lot better,
No.
but they were still, a little better than 7. And they hadn't been actively managed in, 5-6 years. So that's a huge security concern, because that's exactly where people will come into your organization. I had a firewall that hadn't been updated since 2013. And so, that was, we've spent a lot of money this year, and it definitely looks like throw money at it and it'll go away. But it really, I've been meeting with the IT committee with some regularity. I missed their last meeting, but I think we're headed in the right direction. We've closed up all of the immediate gaps that I was really worried about. And this was another one that literally almost gave me an aneurysm. Was we had all of the town's backup was going to the fire department into a server that was from 2009. It had never been rebooted or updated since that time. It had 4 drives in it, only one of which was still spinning. And so,
How did we not crash?
Yeah, that would have been everything we owned would have been gone. So I immediately went into contract with this company called Data Vault. They're out of Ohio. And every night now we offsite all of our data into their data center, which they actually, think if the number's right, they actually break it apart into 27 different backups in different locations around the country. You know, so we've done a lot of that kind of stuff. When I went to that, just real quick, when I went to that server at the fire department, you could audibly hear it when you walked into the room spinning, like loudly. And it had this old
Oh my
LCD
God.
screen on the front of it that had been flashing error so long that it was burned into the screen.
Mayberry RFD, huh?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh,
And
God.
actually, Peter Carlson was on the walkthrough with me, and he was the one that put all that stuff in there in 2009. And he was like, I can't believe this has been just left like this. So we were able to make some really good inroads pretty fast. You know, I think I know we're in much better shape than we were a year ago. And now we're on to the constant evolution of how do we do it better. We also got an IT grant, I should mention, IT security grant. So our staff are going through security training, and we have simulated phishing attacks and testing and all kinds of stuff going on. So that's something we've been focusing on as well.
Awesome. Dan, did you have a follow-up?
But I just want to say I'm glad to hear the IT committee is being used and valued. I don't think the previous administration really got the full value out of that committee.
I'm going to have to say, based on that server at the fire station, I'd have to say I agree with you, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, even with other like more visible things, like when we got the poll pads, I as a tech professional had so many questions that nobody thought to ask, and apparently nobody asked the IT committee for their input either. So that was it's good to hear that they're more involved now.
Yeah,
It is good.
Dave Robbins sent over a manual that he wrote himself on how to use those units, which is pretty amazing in and of itself. But also, I'm not going to read it. I'm going to invite Dave in to show me how to do it. It's super dense. I was like, ooh, this is not for me today. Let's see if I can get a meeting with Dave and he'll teach me how to do it. But yeah, I mean, we should, the IT committee is great. There's great resources on that committee. I think we've been utilizing them a lot more. They're going to be transitioning to doing more policy minded things as well. Which is going to be great because our use policies and IT policies are, from the Windows 10 era. So we've got a long way to come.
You must be able to sleep at night now, knowing that you have backup and everything else done. So that's
I was so
good use of
stressed.
resources.
That was like my first 3 weeks, and I was so stressed. I could not. I'm just waiting for ransomware. I'm like, this is it. This is and it's all on my head here. But luckily when I started working with the folks that I had experience with, they know who I am and they know what I value. And so we were able to really hammer out those real big holes very quickly.
Outstanding. Andy.
Have we drafted a letter thanking the server for its service to the town? Or is that something we need to get on future agendas?
Well, this is government, Andy, so I just turned it off and threw it away with no thank you whatsoever.
Go ahead, Greg.
So do we still have an opening on the IT committee?
I don't, that's a great question, Greg. I think that Alan was our open spot. But I'll have to double check that.
I think Alan's been on it for a while. We just had
oh, that's right. Sorry, Greg, you're right. We just had a resignation. So we do have an open spot that we'll be advertising shortly.
It's advertised. I was just wondering if it had actually been filled. So
look at that. Greg, you should just ask the question and then answer it yourself, because I clearly.
Yeah, so Greg, you tell us, has it been filled?
I don't know. I knew it was advertised, but I hadn't seen anything come in for it. So.
All right. Thank you. We got to get, we were ahead of schedule. Now we're behind schedule. Good
Yes.
filibuster there, Evan. Nice job. I see Leah is here. So Leah, welcome. Thank you for being here. Chris, you're here as well. Thank you for being here this morning. So let me share my screen and we'll turn it right over to you, Leah, to have you walk us through. And thank you for being here this morning. And I'm sorry to get to you a little late. So
No problem.
you're up on the screen. If you want to just walk us through it, that would be great.
Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Okay. So we start with administrative personnel. That is the conservation assistant. Next we have conservation agent. So that is 73% of my pay is here. The other 27% comes out of the fees we collect with our applications. The field inspector, that was a new position this year that's not being funded going forward. And then
Why
we
is
have
that? Why is that?
So we kind of hit the pause button on that. And we're looking at restructuring our department. Evan, did you want to add to that?
I was just gonna say, maybe Mark, it would make sense because we're doing something similar in planning. So maybe go through both of those and we can talk about what we're doing to both those departments because they're kind of
Fine.
symbiotic as far
Okay.
as what the changes.
Perfect. Sorry, Leah, continue.
No, that's fine. Overtime is for the assistant for attending our Concom meetings as well as any extra trainings or seminars. Professional and technical, we use that if we need to hire a consultant that isn't covered by applicant peer review fees, or if we had to cancel a meeting because we didn't have a quorum and we need to re-advertise, then we pay for the legal ad out of that account. Conservation land maintenance is pretty self-explanatory. That's anything like signage, trailblazes. We're starting to work on trailhead kiosks, things like that. Training and seminars, also pretty straightforward, as well as office supplies and dues and memberships, which covers MACC as well as MSMCP, and those go up a little bit each year.
And that's
So
for you and the members of the commission.
Correct.
Any questions for Leah on that? So Leah, if you can hold on, because if Evan's going to walk us through a whole thing, I'd appreciate if you could stick
Sure.
around for a few more minutes. Morning, Chris.
Morning.
How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. You want to walk us through yours?
Yep. So the increases here for department head and administrative staff are just the regular 2%. We did increase our overtime fairly significantly. Looking at the previous year's actual expenditures, we have been going very close to that amount, if not going over. And so hopefully that will help to account for it, in addition to using additional efficiencies to not tap into overtime as much. But we've had a lot of work with night meetings with the new growth and developments coming in. So professional and technical, we have added funds for a plotter maintenance plan. What that does is it gets us regular service calls. We've been kind of maintaining it ourselves, but having a professional maintenance plan to come in and work on that will be helpful. It also gets us significant reduction in fees, which actually for office equipment related to the plotter, and those actually did just go up this year, but will be locked into that previous amount since we have the maintenance plan. So employee training and seminar level funded, as our communications and office supplies. Our other assessments is the Cmrpc assessment. So that increases each year. It's based off of population. I thought we had updated that with the actual number that they released, Evan. Did that?
I believe we did. Maybe Sue had pulled this down ahead of that. So we moved
Okay.
that by $400, right, Chris, up to 6,000?
Right, I believe so. Yep.
That's the assessment for next year, 6,000.
Correct.
Greg, did you have a question?
I was just saying it was showing 6,000 on the internal view, but it's marked as edited. So I assume that just meant it hadn't been published.
Hey, look at that. Oh, look at that. It says 6,000.
handled, although for a brief second, it did say 60,000. So let's go back to that.
How's that?
So then in-state travel, we took that out previously just from not using it. We've been doing a lot of remote work and there hasn't been a lot of in-state travel. But as things open up again, we'd like to add that item back in. And then dues and memberships is left as level funded. The one new item that you'll see this year is the leave coverage of 18,000. I am expecting to take some time off in the summer, and that will cover professional support to fill in those gaps, mainly looking at planning board and keeping those things running while I'm away.
I love the account number that Evan puts in when he adds a new new budget. I like that. So Evan, do you want to walk us through while Leah and oh, I'm sorry, are there any questions on the planning budget for Chris? All right, so Evan, do you want to walk us through what you were talking about before?
Sure. So Chris and Leah and I have met a couple times now to discuss this. So not if you recall, because you just saw it. So we had a $20,000 line item in the planning budget and a $15,000 line item in the conservation budget. Planning was for what's called an associate planner, and conservation was what was called a field inspector. You'll note that Leah is also the assistant planner. But by all accounts, and either of you, Leah or Chris, feel free to correct me if you think I'm off on this. But it seems like the structure of that kind of land use department area there has gotten a little wonky over the years. And so we want to straighten that out as far as what positions are covering what responsibilities, as well as shift some of the duties onto what will probably be an assistant town planner, some kind of title in that way, and move some of that off of Leah and spread the field inspector duties probably within that conservation department as well. So 15,000 and 20,000 for each of those positions probably isn't going to get us very much. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, which I think is indicative of us not having filled those at this time. So look to sweep those off the table, circle back and create a more vertical org chart for that area, so that we set it up right now, and then we'll be good for the future.
Chris or Leah, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that was well said. Just in terms of the planning department and conservation, just by nature of being land use departments, we're very, very closely knit. And so just, massaging that hierarchy to make it fit what the actual operation day to day is will be more beneficial just for clarity and for, everything all around. So
in terms of workload now, how are we handling things? I mean, you guys out straight? How's that happening now?
Yeah, so I obviously I think there's room for, with the projects coming on, for growth in pretty much all of our land use departments. And so that's part of why we're looking at how to structure that. But certainly we're able to handle right now, what needs to get done. But I do think with the new growth that we'll need to expand that capacity. So bringing on new positions that will be able to pick up those tasks and take up the additional workload will be beneficial. So we'll structure that for the coming cycle.
Okay. Evan?
Yeah, just real quick. One, Chris and Leah will both give you the modest answer. The real answer is that we're pretty much out straight in that area all day. We've got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of growth. And there's a lot to monitor and manage on the conservation side of the house as well, as far as what's happening out there in the field. And so we do recognize that this is an area that needs additional staffing. We just want to make sure that we are putting the right staff into the right place and not just throwing money at it and hoping that the new position will work out. And I think that's one of the problems with, you just point to the $20,000 line item that was carried over in the budget for the planning department. In 2022, what do you get for $20,000 for a part-time planner? So it just does not make any sense. And we really, I didn't want to carry that forward another year without us having done our homework. So that's what we're doing. But they're both very busy people, and they put out a tremendous amount of work, considering that they're largely doing a lion's share of it themselves.
No, that's a good answer. Go ahead, Sue Fiacco.
So with all that discussion, will there be changes in this budget for FY23 additional? Or is that going to be by the time you structure for FY24?
So that's a great question, Sue. The short answer is I'm not really sure. If we come up with a great proposal and plan and our budget's looking really good, we could potentially come back to you folks in January and have that conversation as like a mid-year change. But that's yet to be seen. I don't know that that'll happen. I just want to be transparent that there's potential to do that. But in all likelihood, we're probably talking in 2024 fiscal year. But
okay, thank you.
I also just one last thing with the planner.
Please.
So with Chris, with his leave coming up, we also didn't want to be hiring right now for Chris's exodus, and then it just seemed like it was going to devolve into kind of management chaos. So there is some strategic thinking in the timing of what we're trying to do.
In terms of the 18,000, that is to bring in a consultant to work part-time through his leave. Okay.
Yeah, that's with CMRPC, and just like a per diem rate. And so Chris will be, sorry, Chris, I'm gonna speak for you for a second here. So Chris will be in the office a couple of days a week is what the current plan is. And then we'll have the per diem planner able to take up some of the slack created like for managing mostly like, some of the planning board stuff or certain aspects of the job that we can offload for that brief time throughout the summer.
Excellent. Makes perfect sense. Any other questions for Leah and Chris? Well, both Leah and Chris, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday to come in and meet with us. Very informative. And we appreciate your time and work and efforts and everything that you do for the town. So thank you very, very much.
Thank
It was
you.
nice meeting with you.
So next up, I see Mr. Berger and Mr. DeToma are here. So welcome, gentlemen. Call you the Bobs. For this, I will share my screen, get your budget up. And Bob, if you want to walk us through in the order that we have, that would be great. So first up is the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yeah, I'm not used to seeing it on this screen. Zoning Board of Appeals on the administrative line, we went up. And the reason why we went up was we were trying to get Katrina in line with the union scale. For many, many years, she was paid not even step one. That's why you see the line that went up 14.6%. We added an overtime line. We never had that before, so we wanted to incorporate that. We don't know if we're going to use it or not, but at least we're funding something in there. And the other ones are pretty easy: communications and office supplies.
Any questions for Bob on the ZBA? All right, moving down, the municipal custodial staff.
We added a new janitor. We brought him on for the library. And of course, we had to add some overtime because we added a new janitor.
Okay, hold on. That we added a new.
We have it before we had 2 full-time custodians and 1 part-time custodian. Now we have 3 full-time custodians and one part-time custodian.
And that creates overtime?
Well, when
I
we get,
misunderstood what you were saying.
yes, when you have snow and ice, and other events,
I should have more people coming. Okay.
we have more
I
people,
totally
we have more
misunderstood.
people coming out now.
I apologize.
I haven't had
I
my
mis-
6 cups of coffee yet.
I
so
got you.
you have to
I
bear
just-
with me.
I totally misunderstood what you meant, but now that makes sense. Evan, did you want to add anything to that?
No, you got there, Mark. I was just saying, we're adding that position, which in any other, realm probably winds up with less overtime, but because of snow and ice.
Yeah.
It increases because we're doing more work.
Yep, no, I just totally misunderstood the way Bob said that, but then after you explained it, I'm fine. Andy, go ahead.
So do we have a full-time dedicated custodian at the library? I was under the impression that they were split. up.
No,
No, so
Go
can I
ahead.
do it, Bob?
absolutely.
Let me go, Bob. Let me add it. So what we did was, we have a maintenance department. And so rather than dedicate an employee that just lives at the library all the time, we decided to make them part of our human capital that can be deployed wherever it needs to be at any given time. However, there is a janitor assigned to the library that is there every day, cleaning and, maintaining the facility. We just didn't want to house that under the library because we have a department that deploys those people so that, should you have, a major, I don't know, a major janitorial incident at the municipal center, you could pull all those staff together, bang that out, get it done, and then move on. So it's really just an organizational thing, but the library does have staff for janitorial. In that proposal or the presentation that Beth gave, I think that one of her concerns was after hours janitorial, because the library has hours that are more than 8 hours a day. So we have one janitor there for, say, 8 hours, and then he goes home and, somebody makes a mess in the bathroom right after that. And so what happens?
Well, I wasn't here Wednesday night. I missed the presentation. From what I hear, you did not fund the library adequately. Evan, is that true?
I have heard that as well. Yes.
Okay, just wanted to see if that was the case.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Thank
Bob.
you.
Go.
Thank you for bringing that up. I
I
appreciate it.
just felt the need to do that. Is there any other questions? Any questions for the municipal custodial staffing? Now, I guess my question is, I should know the answer to this, Bob. You have the staffing here. Where does the expenses for, materials and supplies, where's that budgeted? I should know that, but
It's in the line item 193.
it's in the 193 line item. Okay. Gotcha.
Wait a minute. Evan shook his head no.
Well, it is, but there's 193 staffing and 193 expenses, right?
Right.
So it's somewhere else, but
We'll
I
get to
didn't
it.
want you to
Yes.
think it's embedded in that 180 or something like that.
No, I figured that was all
No.
salary. I just tried to figure out,
Gotcha.
because I don't see it up on the screen here. I just wondered where it was. So I didn't think they did it for I didn't think they had, they grabbed supplies magically. Go ahead, Sue.
So you have Bob, Mr. Berger, who is covering staffing. And later on, there'll be, this 193 will come up again, municipal, that Evan will cover the expenses.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't it make
Or
sense to
I.
have it? Wouldn't it make sense to have it in the same spot?
Well, Mr. Berger doesn't cover that, so that's why I put that there.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he does, but historically, he's been not part of that presentation. We can either jump to that or I can do it later.
Yeah, we'll
I
just do
know-
it later.
I know the ins and outs. I got it,
Okay.
Bob.
We'll
All
do
right.
it.
I like doing it, but that's fine.
I will try to do it to your satisfaction, sir.
Okay.
Any questions on municipal custodial salaries? Let's move on to building inspector. Go ahead, Bob.
I'm just reading right off of your spreadsheet. So the top is the department head, 2.1%. Administrative is our secretary or our office manager, which is by the contract. I don't know what, the alternative is when I get into an ethical conflict, we have money in there to bring in a third party that I have nothing to do with. Local inspector is Tom in the overtime. Our 2 automobile allowances, and a new position that we're trying to fund this year is the local inspector, plan reviewer. And basically, it's local inspector is his classification and his certification, but really it's a plan reviewer that we're going for right now. And then if we get that funded, then we have to get, it's down below on some equipment, is we have to get them the proper equipment to review plans.
So I have a couple of questions. First
I know you do.
First on automobile allowance.
Yeah.
Evan, you're buying some new vehicles. Is any of those going to be used in this instance?
Not for these. But it is something that I've been looking at, and Bob and I have had some preliminary conversation about. So that would be for fiscal 24, any change that would be made there.
Okay.
And may I add to that?
Please.
So, you know, the building inspector and the building commissioner, we're like the fire chief. We have our gear with us 24/7. If we get called out at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, our gear is in our trunks or in the back of our pickup trucks, and we can get deployed anytime, anywhere. And we have the personal protective gear, and we have all our cards, and we have all our code books. So we're walking around and driving around with everything that we need to get deployed, just like the fire chief. That's why historically we haven't gone with a vehicle that's supplied by the town, because at 2 o'clock in the morning, if we need to run to a fire or run to a building that a car just ran into, we don't have to go into town hall and pick it up. We have everything we need. And that's what we have done in the past. It may change, but I just wanted you to hear
That makes sense.
Philosophy behind why it's always there.
Yep, understood. Sue Robbins.
I just wanted to ask Bob, for this local inspector plan reviewer, this new position, I'm assuming you still are going to be doing plan reviews yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, you know, we are in, just like planning, we are in an unprecedented time. In 2020, with the virus that came up, everybody in the world is working from home. Everybody's building an office in their basement, an office in their attic. We have done about 800 to 1,000 building permits, which is unheard of. We got a little bit of a backlog when Evan first came on. I had to sit down with Evan, and we took some money out of my overtime, and we actually hired somebody to come in and do plan reviews, because we were getting to the 30 days and a little bit over the 30 days. And we wanted to give good customer service to the residents of Grafton. So after we expended all that money, we actually had no choice, but we went to a third party, like a temp agency that works for building departments. And we got them for about a month or so just to get us over the hurdle. But I can't stress enough how we're going to get so busy with Pine Street, with Upton Street, with Abbey Road off of Carroll Road, with all these subdivisions, and still everybody is still doing all this work on their house. We're gonna be over our heads again. And you know, I'm gonna be on vacation this week, or the week coming up. I'm on vacation, and I am right now at 20 days on plan reviews because I track everything. And you know, I am going to be working on my vacation at night after I do my thing, you know, enjoy all my time off. I'm going to be doing plan reviews at night on my vacation, just so we don't get in trouble, because there's nobody really there to cover the plan reviews that I cover. And if knock on wood that we do hire a plan reviewer, which I'm asking for 20 hours a week, and I'm going to train them on how to do the plan reviews like I do the plan reviews. That way I can have full confidence, like I have full confidence in Mr. Federico doing plan reviews. But, you know, and then we could just talk about Mr. Federico in the next year or so is most likely going to put his papers in for retirement. And I hope he enjoys his retirement. But you and I, everybody knows in the real world, when one person like Tom, that's totally blue blood, leaves, sometimes it takes two people to fill those shoes. And I'm just gearing up for, number one, how busy we are, how busy we're going to get with these huge projects, and Tom putting his papers in for retirement. I hope that answered your question, Sue.
It did. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it.
My
Bob,
pleasure.
how many building permit applications come in a week?
You know, that's a tough question because I don't know the week, but I can tell you last year we had 875 applications come in just on building permits. Just on building permits. Doesn't include electrical, plumbing, gas, mechanical, or zoning. I can also tell you that for revenue, the department brought in, I'm going to say $625,000 for revenue. All right. And then 8 Pine Street hasn't paid for their permit, and their permit's going to be in the next month or so. And that's a minimum of $250,000. So if you take that 250 and then you take just maybe just 500, you get $750,000 there to fund the department. I'm just looking for your support on this. And you know, if it doesn't work out, then you don't fund it next year or 2024. But I think it is the way to go. I wouldn't put it in there if I really didn't believe this was the way to go. And I'm also implementing and trying to make this online permitting work better for all departments. So I kind of took that on myself to train the other departments. Everything that I do on this, other than being the building commissioner, takes a little bit of time away from me sitting in that chair and just doing reviews.
So you have, Angelina, I'm sorry, do you want to go before I ask my question?
You can go ahead.
Right. So you get in a brand new house, say new construction house.
Yep.
From start to finish, how long does it take to do one plan review?
To go through the plan, it could take 4 hours, could take 5 hours, but that's only the first review. Then you have to write your report to give to the contractor to tell them if there are any deficiencies, and then it goes and goes and goes. Sometimes it goes 3-4 times through the process before I press that button and say, okay, you can have your permit.
Go ahead, Angelina.
So I'm just curious how all of this looks when you look at the revenue as well. Like if the permit applications are up 40%, then are we seeing an increase in revenue that's offsetting some of this cost? Like, you know, if we need to hire someone, I guess that's
Absolutely. I have 20 years worth of accounts receivable on a spreadsheet. I can pull it up anytime you want. But like we said, my department last calendar year brought in, I'm just going to say $625,000. If you look at what we're trying to fund for the building department, I think you're at $250,000. So the funds, and the building department obviously is supposed to be self-funding. So your neighbor is never paying for your inspections or your permit. So your permit is paying for the services that we provide. And we're not upside down.
Evan?
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, in just summing up a little bit. So, you know, Bob and I have been working together for the past year, looking at the ebbs and flows of building permits and the amount of time it takes. I do have some data I can share with the committee. I can shoot that out this week. I don't have it prepared to throw up on the screen right this second. But I've been looking at what our revenue looks like. And it just seems like when we hit that really busy season, which will be coming up here in the spring, when we start to see a little bit of a spike, you know, it would be great to have the additional staffing to offload some of that and keep the amount of time it takes to get a permit application turned around lower as far as a customer service model goes. So that's all we're trying to do. I think I spent last year 15,000 trying to get that backlog reduced. I think at one point it was we had 108 outstanding permits or 110 outstanding permits. And we were able to catch that up. But just to have the annual support to just, keep that model moving, I think is why we, Mary and I had agreed that it's something we should push forward to you.
So in terms of the hours, you're putting in for 20 hours, which makes it a benefited position. Why aren't we going under 20?
It'll be under 20.
Okay.
That's just how it was submitted and written there, but
Oh, okay.
I'll
Because
make
it-
that tweak. Yeah,
okay.
it's not a benefited position.
Okay. And
No.
so Bob, you have, when I come in with my brand new building permit application and I hand it to you, you have 30 days in which to issue me the permit.
I have 30 days to make a decision on it. Yeah.
And if you don't make the decision and the 30 days lapses and I don't hear from you, I can build my house without you inspecting it?
No.
What happens?
You could hire an attorney and we could go to land court or superior court. It would be superior court to force me to perform my duties. But it doesn't go that far. You don't get permission to build your house.
Angelina.
So I guess, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. If we have an increase in applications and it's causing an increase in revenue, I wonder if we should put something about that here, for the budget going out to everyone to just show, like, we need this. But so Evan, is your revenue projection for this year higher than the revenue for the prior year? Like, does it offset that way, or am I oversimplifying it?
No, you're not oversimplifying it. I think that I gotta be honest with you, top of mind, I don't remember where we set that side of the fees, but knowing me and Mary, we probably left it or were conservative with what we thought we were gonna bring in, because again, that's kind of been how we like to operate. There's definitely an increase in revenue coming in through that department for the additional applications and some of our bigger developments as well. They pay some pretty big lump sum fees.
You have to be careful when you're doing the revenues on building permit, because, this year, as Bob pointed out, you have some big developments coming in, and that's going to be a big infusion of cash. If you build a budget based on that and it doesn't repeat itself in 24 or 25, your budget is upside down. So you probably want to stay consistent across the level in terms of income, and then you just get an infusion of free cash one year because of that. So I totally support the way you budget those fees. It makes perfect sense to me. Andy, go ahead.
I know it's not, an assistant inspector isn't the same role, but I feel like, we currently have a bunch of government positions open that are in that 20 hours or less per week. And some of them we're having trouble staffing currently because, we're finding somebody who is available to put in just 20 hours a week is difficult. Is that something that, we could be facing a similar situation here? And weighing a part-time versus full-time help?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's possible we'll find ourselves there. There are some other communities that surround us that have part-time positions for this type of work. So, it's our hope that we're going to pick up one of those people that's grabbing hours from different towns. So I guess, Andy, the short of it is I hope that this is successful. But it's really hard to predict. I would not predict that I would have 3 temps working in the municipal center right now. We pay a decent wage, and it's a good gig. And I've got positions that I've advertised for 2 months with no applicants. So
One of them is ours, if I recall.
Yep. Yeah, I actually have yeah.
We'll talk about that later. Skip, go ahead.
That's what I was thinking.
So this is kind of going into the proverbial Wayback Machine, but we had kind of hashed out at a town meeting, adding a charge for future expansion of activities that went through the building permit process. When people asked to build a house, there was, at the time, I think it was $5,000 to expand the town services for these new developments and new houses. It may have died on the proverbial vine at the town meeting, along with the concept of going to 2-acre zoning, which would have cut severely into the number of new houses we have and the strains that it's putting on the town. But at least the charge was there to fund future expansion for stuff like roads and highway department and stuff like that, that we simply can't pick up through the tax rate. I don't know if this is the time or place to rethink that. Just a thought.
Anything
Mr.
else?
Chair, can I add to something?
Of course.
Okay. So the question came up, do you think we can get a part-time person here? My hope, because I see it all the time in my building association, my hope is we're gonna get a freshly retired building commissioner that left his municipality and still wants a part-time gig. So we're going to get somebody that is seasoned on plan reviews. I don't think we're gonna have a big problem filling this position for 19 hours a week.
Hold on a second. Let me interrupt you. You said that you were gonna bring somebody in, you're gonna train him to do it the way that you review plans.
Absolutely.
You bring in, well, yeah, but you bring in a guy who recently retired, who was a building commissioner for 40 years.
Yeah.
He's gonna review plans the way he reviews plans, Bob. You're not gonna change the way he.
Oh,
reviews
no.
plans.
There's a way that we review plans using a particular checklist, and
okay.
we document everything. Some of these other municipalities, they look at a set of plans, and if they look pretty, then you're gonna get your permit, but they're not looking for, the content. I hope I didn't say that on air. I hope they're not gonna listen to this.
We're recording this meeting and I'm gonna replay this. Bob DeToma, can you replay that several times on the cable channel when you get an opportunity? Any other questions for, I think I understand the need for the plan reviewer, and that's something that we'll have to talk about as we make our recommendation to the budget, but I think you explained what the need is and everything there. Does anybody have any other questions on the building inspector's budget? Let's move on to gas inspector. Go ahead, Bob.
Everybody on their salaries got a 2% because that's what we were directed to do. And on the in-state travel, if they were under because of what we had to do last year, then we kind of brought them up, and I can see a couple of them we have. We all know that our mechanical inspectors, which are going to call gas, electric, and plumbing, because they're all going to work out to the same numbers. These are really just placeholders. I say this kind of every year because we pay them hourly to do inspections. We don't give them a stipend. Years ago, they were on a stipend. And when we were busy, it was great. But then when we got slow, we were paying them $20,000 for doing not many inspections. So years ago, we went with paying them by the hour. And so far, we have worked out pretty good. The only problem that we do have sometimes is the in-state travel. We just don't fund it enough. And for an example, on the gas inspector, when Morgan Drive came up and put gas on Morgan Drive, everybody on Morgan Drive wanted gas. That's a gas permit. That's the gas inspector going back and forth. And the in-state travel, we had to go mid-year to FinCom and ask them to take some free cash out and fund that, the deficit. But we always have enough revenue to cover the cost of what we always ask for. So that's going to be the same on gas, plumbing, and electric. So that's what you see here.
Okay, that's easy enough. Any questions on the inspectors from anybody? Seems pretty straightforward. Cable oversight. Mr. DeToma, you're going to walk us through this, or we're going to listen to Mr. Berger continue?
Mr. Berger is going to take care of the mathematics. I'm just here for the technical side if you have any questions.
Okay. So I have another screen, but I'm not going to pull it up. We have two issues with cable oversight. One, the town under the budget funds $2,000. So the town gives us $2,000 for technical communications, office supplies, and equipment. So that $2,000 is just a gimme. But out of the license agreement we have with Spectrum and we have with Verizon, we basically collect $350,000 in those fees. Those are the fees that really fund this department, because there's a warrant, but I don't think we're doing it by warrant this year. I think it's somehow buried in here, and Evan, you'll have to show them where you put it. We're asking for $440,000 under a either a warrant or it's in the budget to fund the entire operation of the cable oversight. And I'll take any questions on that because sometimes it does get confusing.
Yeah, well, I guess and I probably ask this every year in the years I've been on the finance committee, why do we have a town appropriation of this $20,000 or $3,000? Why do we have this appropriation? Why isn't everything out of the fees that we get from cable? Why are we spending tax dollars here? Because it seems to me that the cable operation should be funded by the cable franchise fees that we get for the users. And then once you answer that question, my follow-up is going to be, have we seen a decrease in the number of people participating in cable? Are we seeing a reduction in our fees?
Okay, so the first part of your question is, I think it is in the agreement that these two companies made to the town that they want to show. We have to show them that we're invested into public television. So for $2,000, you're getting $350,000. I think it's a good deal. Evan, do you agree with that's why we do this?
I don't know.
Okay, because that was my
Is it-
understanding.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. I don't know. We can certainly look at that, Mark, and I can give you a
Yeah, I'd like
we can
to
give
understand
you-
if,
yeah,
yeah.
let me look at it, and then next time we're together, give you a more concise answer on that.
okay.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
So as far as your question on reduction of people cutting the cord or people going away from cable, if you look at Verizon versus Spectrum Charter, Verizon is up here and Charter is down here. And Charter continues to go this way. If you can see my hand go off camera.
Yeah, is Verizon, Bob, is Verizon picking up the people that are leaving Charter?
Over the years, they were, and Verizon continued to climb. Now, Verizon might be dropping a bit, but if you had to break it down into percentages, it's like 70-30 or 80-20 in favor of Verizon. So
we have sufficient fees coming in on cable to support the operation that you have and the debt service on the studio.
correct.
Okay,
But I want to add to that too.
go ahead.
Again, the calendar year that we have that's complete with the fees, we brought in $340,000. And right now we're in our third quarter. We have our third quarter payment. So we still need one more quarter to finish off the year. And we're at about 300,000 right now. So I think that we're going to be maybe a little bit over 340. We could even be at 360. I'm not sure. I'll have better information in our next meeting next year because I'm always looking at a year backwards.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Bob on the cable? Mr. DeToma, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday, and I just want to offer my heartfelt condolences to you, sir. And you need anything, you know where to find us.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here today. Moving on to the Farmersville Firehouse, Bob, you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, it's a really small budget, and repair and maintenance looks like we went up 100%. But when you have 100% of nothing, then it just looks like 100%. That's it. You see it right there.
Gotcha.
Utilities, you're up a little bit, and the percentages look high because it's a nothing budget, which you bring up a little bit and it throws the percentages way high. I don't know if there's anything else I can really say on that.
Nope, I think that sums it up. And then the South Grafton Community House.
South Grafton Community House, it needs quite a bit of work. All right, and this is just scratching it right now. Communications is a big number, and that's where you got a fire alarm system online now, and that's the communications that we're talking about. Other supplies, I mean, we brought it up $50, so it's 33%. But that building, it needs a lot of tender loving care. In the Capitol, we're going to try to paint the building this year, but that's just the first thing we got to do to keep the building watertight, because there's rot. We have to replace wood. The front ramp needs to be replaced. I mean, there's just a lot that needs to be done there, but that's not represented in this budget.
Evan, I don't know what we use the South Grafton Community House for. So this is probably an off-base question, but given the capital expenditures that you have to put into this particular facility, is it worth keeping it?
So I did have a conversation about this recently in which Sue Robbins threatened me physically if I tried to get rid of it.
Oh, Sue, I'm sorry. I did not mean to step on toes.
No. So I mean, that's part of the ongoing conversation. It does appear that the community does like having that building. I think I have a very short track record with the space that was pretty much closed straight through COVID. So I would like to see us utilize that space better by, infusing some cash into it, getting it spun up. People I've heard in the past like to use it for birthday parties, and we can have community forums there. Seems like one of the few town assets in South Grafton that can really be used to do community events. And it is a historic building on the historic register. So I did apply for $50,000 of CPC funding to replace some of the rotted wood and repaint the exterior of the structure.
Getting support from CPC on it?
Not yet, but we'll see. We'll see. So we're going down that route. I don't of all the conversations, let me just shorten this up. Of all the conversations I've had, it doesn't seem like there's political will or community will to dispose of that property.
I was just asking, Sue, before you yell at me, I was just asking a question. I did not mean to imply anything. So
here we go, Mark. Here we go.
I know I'm in trouble right now. Sue, do you have anything to add?
Not really. It's just that South Grafton doesn't always get a lot of things down there. And I hate to see something taken away that I think is historical for South Grafton. I mean, the center gets a lot, North Grafton gets things, but the center kind of always gets neglected. But this is one building that has historical significance, I think, for the community. And I personally would just hate to see it go.
Mhm.
So
Understood. I'm withdrawing my comment. And if Bob DeTome is listening, if you can please edit out the last 5 minutes of this meeting, I would be most appreciated. Anything else for Mr. Berger while he's here? Bob, thank you very much for taking time out of your Saturday and covering all those budgets. We really appreciate it.
All right, guys, thank you. Everybody have a great day.
You too.
All right,
I
thank
see Candy is here. Hi, Candy. I thought I saw Candy was here.
I thought I did too.
Did I not see? Oh, there she is. Hi, Candy. Oh, we can't hear Candy. Nope. Is there an expert in the house? Greg, can you help Candy? Can somebody help Candy?
Be great if you
working
just
on
saw.
it.
It'd be great if you just saw Greg walk off the screen and then.
I don't know what's, I feel
I think
bad.
she's.
We can see her.
Yeah,
She's
she's
right
I think
there.
she's calling in.
Hear me through my cell phone?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna have to do it through here. Let me log off the laptop.
Okay,
All right, there we go.
perfect. All right. So let me ask you a question. If I share the screen, you able to see it on your cell phone?
Yeah, I should probably be able to.
How's that?
Good enough.
All right, So Candy, thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Living the dream. So
All
if you
right.
want to walk us through your budget, that would be awesome.
Awesome. So we start off, and sorry, I'm gonna have to play with the screen a little bit to see what I'm doing, but the first line is for department head. Obviously, being an elected official, it goes through town meeting, but we left it as a 2% increase. Administrative personnel would be Jane in the office. The assistant would be Paul, and they as well are going up 2%. Overtime, we have it 3,000 just because we have a few elections this year, which falls on the elections, but there's some other work in-house as well on the clerk side that we figured, we would probably need some overtime for. So we put that at 3,000. Jane gets longevity, so that stayed in there. I get a stipend because I recently just passed my certification for certified mass municipal clerk. Sorry, there's too many of them. So that is now in there. For me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So any questions on that?
Anybody? Nope, go on.
All right, so next professional and technical, we have, is that 3,000? I think it says.
3140. Yep, that's an increase of 70%.
Yep, hold on, I got printed sheets here too. Maybe it'll be easier for me to do this. Give me 1 second.
Take your time, Candy.
All right, so professional and technical, we saw a drop in that because we recently switched software in our system. We were under Oversight with most other departments, but now we have our own through LL Data. So that got rid of their maintenance fee for the year. Then you will see that it went up a little bit for the maintenance plan for LL Data, but this is a good thing because we have modernized most of the things in the office that we were touching multiple times to complete. We reduced out some money for a notary fee because nobody is up this year. Our dog tag amount went up as most places. And then, and that's pretty much it for that one.
Any questions for Candy on the town clerk's budget? Staffing wise, Candy, with the assistant and the administrative personnel, how's the office operating?
We're doing well. I have to say this is probably more election related, but as we know with the past presidential year, there was a lot going on in our office at that time, but we did have a couple people in there helping to offset some of the work that had to be done. And so we're hoping before the next presidential, maybe next budget cycle, we can hire a part-time person to come in general. As you know, there's pending legislation too that is going to change the way we do things more permanently that they've done over the last couple of years. And we're finding that it's just a lot more focus on election related duties that we really could use some more help in the office doing that. Part-time would be great. I know we don't like to hire full-time, but I think we could, start with a part-time position and helping out with some of that. And so that's that.
Okay, any other questions on town clerk budget? Moving on to elections and registration. Obviously, there's more elections next year, I'm gonna guess, by this increase.
Yep, we have in 2023, there's the September primary, the general election, and then we have our local election, then the 2 town meetings. So yeah, we had to increase a little bit. And then as you know, as I stated, we still have pending legislation. So we have no idea what's to come yet. But there probably most likely is going to be early voting in there for everything again. So I've kind of increased based on adding funds to cover early voting hours and, and it kind of, and then the increase to the election workers in general that happened last year. So it kind of bumped up a bit for that, but I kind of covered our bases. So in case we have to do early voting for all cycles or elections, I should say, we're covered.
So Evan, on the local election, has the select board made a decision or discussed whether or not they're gonna do early voting for the select board for the annual town election?
No, everything's pending still.
Okay.
No, everything is pending still.
You're so funny. Any questions for Candy on these budgets? So Candy, when Angelina and I came in and met with you, you had started to buy some new voting booths and starting to improve the operation. How's that going?
Slowly but surely. So we have 2 precincts worth of new booths. They are a different style, but I think for what we're getting, it will make it easy setting up as well for us that have to set up and just the life expectancy of the booths. As we know, we don't have a set location, so we are moving our equipment quite frequently from one place to the next each time. And, there is sometimes a little more rough play with them in the transporting. So the new booths are a 4-station booth in one, so there won't be single booths. And the reason we did that is more and more communities are buying them. So I was listening to people talk about them, researched them a little bit, and it seems to be that these are a favorite of all the towns that are buying them. So we're doing good with that. And then we've added money into the budget to slowly increase purchasing more, because as we know, in 10 years, we're going to have to add another precinct. So this will help us when that time comes to have all the equipment we need to cover that other location.
Excellent, excellent. Any other questions for Candy? Candy, thank you. Oh, did I hear something? Oh, Candy, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday to come in and meet with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
All right. Next up is Skip. The floor is yours, Mr. Currier.
Oh, gee. Does anybody have any questions? We have level.
That was quick.
We were
Good
asked to-
present. Hey, Skip, that's a great presentation.
I'm trying to cut down on the jibber jabber and the talk and discussion. We have level funded our budget.
So let me ask you a question. So out there, does this take care of it takes care of the park, obviously. It takes care of the building itself.
Yes.
Capital wise, how is Nelson Library? Is there any capital things that we got to worry about?
No, the only issue that we've had is the heating system or the boiler, whatever you want to call it, that we took care of last year.
Okay, I
and
remember
conked
that.
out. But
We
other
gave
than
a
that,
reserve
that's it.
fund. We gave a reserve fund transfer for that, right?
Yeah, for most of it, yes.
So at this point, I can say, Evan, is there any thought of selling off this? No, I'm kidding. That's
He
just a
doesn't
joke.
get to do that.
Can't do that.
I'm just trying to be funny. All right, I'm just trying to be funny. Sue, go ahead.
Don't even joke, Mark. Look
All
at
right.
Sue's got her hand up already. It's a whole thing.
Go ahead, Sue.
I just wanted to ask, I know because of the pandemic, but we used to rent out that one room. Is that still possible, Skip, to do that?
It still does get rented out to folks. There is a condo project that meets there monthly, and I'm trying to think of in some of the use of the fields is now getting charged for.
Okay, and do the volunteers still come in to maintain the stacks?
We have not, the building since COVID hit has been closed, and I believe that will be the subject of discussion in future meetings, is whether we actually reopen the library half. Because the group of people that had been coming in and taking care of that has slowly but surely dwindled down to about 1.5.
Angelina, oh, sorry. Sue, was there a follow-up?
No, that's fine.
Right. Angelina?
No, I was just wondering what that building was being used for at this point and why we were like, what we were doing with it. What is the plan for that building?
Again, we will be discussing that at a future trustees meeting this year, and perhaps going out and asking what folks might like to see it used for.
How old is that building, Skip?
That building is 1974.
34, okay.
The old mansion house that was Charles Nelson's burned to the ground. That's what had been used for a library
Gotcha.
in meeting hall for a variety of different groups.
Yeah, listen, it's the building is in relatively good shape, other than, you know, and you took care of that furnace last year, so.
Yeah,
it's-
there's not really any particular large ticket items that might need to be done up there. We've, you know, kind of been lucky with it.
Awesome. Is there anything else for Skip on that? Nothing? All right. Skip, thank you very much. Is Colleen here?
Yes, I am here.
Hi, Colleen. How are you? Welcome.
Hi.
Happy to have you here on a Saturday. A lot of fun discussions going on here. We have a
Yes.
capital budget. Are you going to walk us through it? Is Evan going to walk us through it? How do you want to handle it?
Well, it's technically the town administrator's capital budget, so if he wants to walk us through it, it was a little different this year than years previously as we onboarded ClearGov. So if Evan wants to go through, CIPC made a couple recommendations, but it was done collaboratively, mostly with the town administrator.
All right, so any questions? Just taking a, I love it, Skip. That was fantastic. That's my new approach. So I can walk you through it quickly if you'd like me to.
Please do.
Could you go back up to the top for just a second? So our total allocation that we're looking for this year is 1.5 million $9,750. You'll see, actually now if you could scroll down, sorry.
Okay, sure.
All right, so we've got the phase 2 of the master plan at $50,000. That leaves a $20,000 remainder for fiscal 24.
So we did 50 last year, 50 this year, 20 next year?
It's 30, 50, 20.
Okay.
South Grafton Community House, we just discussed briefly. I did apply for that $50,000 to go through CPC.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why is that in question? Is CPC giving you a hard time on that application? And why would they?
So apparently, they believe that any painting is maintenance.
Historic preservation. I don't understand why the CPC would give you a hard time on a historic building, why they wouldn't fund it.
Yep, I'm right there with you. So I did just see, I asked to be copied on any correspondence with the state relating to the matter. So I did just see a response back from Stuart at CPA asking just for a little bit more information. So we'll forward him out the application. And I mean, I've done this project, not obviously in the South Grafton House, but I've done it probably 6 separate times throughout my career.
Absolutely an eligible CPC project. I can't believe they're giving you a hard time over it. Dan, go ahead.
What's the deadline for getting this approved by CPC to go forward to town meeting for this town meeting?
I think they have, well, it's probably, I don't know when their next meeting is. It's in March, I believe. And I think that's when they're going to vote to move things forward. So what's that, Dan? Sorry.
Do you think you'll have, the clear answer from CPA by then?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was about a week. The gentleman who runs CPC was on vacation, or CPA rather, was on vacation. So that held us up by about a week. But I would think that, like I said, I saw that email come through from CPC last night around maybe 9 or 10. So I would anticipate that, coming into next week.
Before I go to Dan, Skip, and Greg, would a memo or a letter of support from the finance committee help that application process? Would you want us to?
Sure.
Because I'll come back to that. Go ahead, Skip, and then Greg.
Well, I don't see how it could possibly send such a letter when we didn't post it on the agenda, considering sending such a letter. So I think we'll have to put that off for 14 fiscal years. Having said that,
I'm going to ignore that comment, Skip, and allow you to continue.
They're going to be meeting next week because I'm going for part of the Roney Park expansion and to support Candy in her request for some money to get records scanned from the vault, so I don't have to do it anymore.
Okay.
So I believe it's next week would be kind of their deadline.
Right.
Okay.
March 24th is the
Oh.
next meeting. So
There you
ahead,
go.
Greg.
just under 2 weeks. So
March 24th, Greg had said.
Greg, did you have something else?
no, that's what I had.
So in terms of, forgetting what Skip just said, I'd like to make a motion that the finance committee, and no, Sue, I'm not doing this to make up for my wanting to sell the building earlier in the meeting. I just think that if it's a historic structure and it needs to be maintained, that's what this community preservation is supposed to be there for, historic preservation. So I would like to make a motion that the finance committee send a letter to the CPC in support of this application. If, was it $50,000?
Correct.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? And I would ask Sue Fiacco to draft the memo of support to the CPC. Being no further discussion, all those in favor by roll call, Greg,
Aye.
Skip,
I did have one discussion point on that. I think
Go
what we
ahead.
should do is include the necessity to maintain the waterproof integrity of the structure as opposed to a regular maintenance of like washing windows or sweeping the floor.
fair
Aye.
point, fair point. Thank you. Sue Robbins,
Aye.
Dan Kusha,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Angelina,
Aye.
and Mark, aye. So thank you for supporting that.
Yes, thanks,
all right,
everybody.
go on.
All right. Got it. Thank you,
Yeah,
everybody. I
yeah.
appreciate the support. So municipal center request, we've got $35,000 to redo a door. This is the door on the, I guess that'd be the north side of the building by the elevator. That's the last or second to last egress to the building that's not handicap accessible. So this would be redoing that door and then adding the infrastructure to be able to push the button and have the door open. And then we've got $25,000. That building is not sprinkled, 55,000 square feet. We want to explore what that would cost to sprinkle. And
So
so
it
this-
is the ballpark wise, probably
I'm
what, half a million,
I was thinking my ballpark was like 800,000,
800,000? Okay.
but I like
Makes
your
sense.
ballpark better.
Yeah.
Go with that.
All
Go
right,
with
well,
that.
I'll make a motion. No, just kidding.
So if you want to start a sprinkler installation company in the next couple months, that'd be great. I'll do it for $500,000.
I can't believe that building's never been sprinkled. That's a excellent expense. That's good use of that money.
It's gonna, if we're gonna maintain that building for the coming years, it's really something that's got to be done. Replace the PD exterior cameras. It's a $25,000 project. Those cameras are original to the building, which is that the building, that building's 2009, I believe.
Yes.
So, technology's come a long way in surveillance cameras since 2009, and we're starting to see they're starting to show their age. So we'd like to just replace those.
right.
Moving down into, and anybody just pop up if I'm going too fast. We have lease payments on the fire pumper and the engine 3 leases that are currently hitting our CIPC line. You will note that the engine 1 that we funded last year is not on this list. That's because we put aside money last year, and because of the backlog in fire truck building, we haven't even made that first payment yet, and we won't until fiscal 23.
Mhm.
So that'll start back up again next year. Station 2 renovation. The building is mostly original. It needs a lot of work. So we did, this is a $200,000 project. We're looking to fund half of it here. Most of that 100,000 will go to exterior building envelope improvement, water sealing, water movement, getting water away from the building, redoing the soffit, redoing the ridge vents, things like that. I did just apply with Representative Meridian for, I think it was an extra $100,000 earmark in the budget, the state budget, to try to fund the second half of this. So if we're able to do that, then this project will be complete. If not, or if we get some lesser amount, which is more typical, I think, we'll have some balance, but I think that the earmark will help us get this down the road. Public schools, I'll go over what they are quickly, but I would ask that any specific questions be directed to Jay when he comes on.
Yeah,
You want to just jump right down?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
before we go there, in terms of money for the middle school HVAC system, that's all coming out of ARPA?
Yes, so we did get the select board to vote for $2.5 million allocation out of the ARPA funds to fund that HVAC at the middle school.
That's money well spent. He's been
oh,
asking for
yeah.
that for years.
Yep. And we did that because we were looking at what projects we were going to have to borrow for in this cycle. And we were going to be doing an ESCO and borrowing over the summer. So rather than have that impact the tax rate, we can just take care of it. And I wholeheartedly supported that with Jay.
Yeah, money well spent.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and let me just mention one other thing about the $2.5 million. I'm sure Jay will too. We did get $188,000 from Green Communities towards that project, and $100,000 earmark from the state ARPA funding towards that project.
Nice.
So the whole project is estimated at 2.5 million. We're going to have close to 300,000 in additional income from grant and earmark. However, I decided to leave it at 2.5 million because given what's happening in supply chain and inflation,
You probably need the contingency.
I probably need the contingency. And so, I don't want to diminish the good work that it took to get that extra money, but I think, it might keep us on budget. So we're going to replace a dump truck for highway. Oh, Greg, you have a question?
So there was a question during the meeting on Tuesday about availability of equipment for that, brought by
Yes.
one of the select board members. Are we confident that we'll be able to get the equipment for this during the summer?
No.
What
We're
do you
not.
need
I
a
mean,
crane? You need a crane?
No, I mean, the big problem right now is that ductwork and the actual HVAC units themselves are hard to come by. There's a backlog in production. And so there is some concern that we won't be able to hit our. Okay, but
Yeah,
I'm on a call. Sorry.
You got 4 years to spend the ARPA money.
Yes, but so we've allocated, our goal is to get it done over the summer. I think that Greg, to your point, I think one of the things that we're going to be doing in the coming days or coming weeks is working with Train to figure out, can we stand up part of the system over the summer should there be a delay in a different part of the system? I.e., if we're replacing a boiler as part of that, can we do the boiler now because it's available, and then do the VFD drives or soft starts or whatever we have to do after as a second component if that's what's going to hold it up. So happy to come back and talk about that, as I'm sure Jay is as well, once we get through the initial contract phase with Train and start looking at actual timelines, because right now it's all just a little subjective.
So this is with Train and it doesn't have to go out to bid, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So it's a 25A procurement. We're doing it as an ESCO, which is an energy services contract. So we're able to do basically it's essentially design build for the energy sector. All right. Any other questions on that? Okay. So we're replacing a dump truck, $246,750. I do want to note that we have done, this is the third truck since being here. The first one was covered entirely by a grant as part of that Volvo diesel scandal. We got a grant for that. And I say I had nothing to do with it. That was all Paul Canoyer. The next truck, we actually got 70,000 towards that truck, which was great. That was another grant Paul Canoyer had written. And so we're going to apply again. I don't know what the odds of us getting it 3 times are, but we'll be able to do that with this truck. This is replacing a 2012 International, which was not slated to be replaced, but it's just giving us so many problems. It has to be
That's typical for internationals.
Oh, we've had, I don't even get me started. It's 2012 2011 on, it's been difficult
Terrible.
with them. So we're
Terrible.
switching, you know, we're almost done with our fleet conversion to Mac, which have been much better.
Yep.
Replacing truck 34, that is a Ford F4 550 small dump. And then we have the Ventrac slope mower, snow thrower, sweeper. So this is a unit that I'm very familiar with and excited to be bringing to Grafton. We will be able to use this for muddy area mowing as well as some of our steep slope mowing, but it also will serve as another machine that can remove snow. And we're gonna probably, it's gonna live most of its life around the common in the winter time. So it'll be able to do the brickwork, snow removal up there, as well as kind of more nimbly get around the sidewalks by the shops and everything. It'll also be able to salt the sidewalks as it goes in a uniform manner so that we don't get people slipping and falling. Lastly, we did write a grant for $50,000 for that unit to offset the cost, and we're awaiting award to see if we've got it. So that might be diminished as well. All right, so you're gonna see 3 vehicles. These are all the same. This is something I'm trying to do. These are Ford Maverick hybrid pickup trucks. Looking to purchase 3 of them, one for replacing the rec vehicle, one for replacing the assessor's vehicle, and one for replacing the engineering department vehicle. I will note that the engineering department vehicle is totally dead as of last week. So I have moved one of the other staff vehicles to replace that one, which also needs replacement. So little shuffle going on there.
That's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Any questions on the capital budget? So in terms of the funding, we're taking 1.1 from capital stabilization, 229,000 from free cash, 50 from CPC, hopefully, and then 60,000 from the general fund.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Skip.
I just have a quick question. So do you ever talk to our property insurance company about the savings that we would get from sprinkling the town hall?
I haven't had that conversation with them yet, to be honest with you.
Just as a sales point when you're talking about doing this stuff.
Yeah,
That's all.
no, that's a great point,
Skip.
Great point. I haven't yet, but I will certainly ensure I do that.
All right, Colleen, is there anything you want to add?
Nope, it was
I take
really,
CPC supports this budget.
CIPC does.
CIPC, I'm
still
sorry.
working on it.
CIP, I'm sorry, I got my acronyms all messed up here. CIPC supports this budget.
Yes.
Okay, Greg, go ahead.
Just Evan, can you give us what's in capital stabilization right now? So what we expect to be left after this is over?
Yeah, just give me 1 sec to pull up my. So capital stabilization began with 2,012,000. And this budget uses 1.17 million. So we have what the heck is that? Give me 1 sec. I'm a political science guy, not an accounting guy. Mary. Mary.
It'd be just over 800,000.
Yeah, sure.
So is the intention come the fall to do a 2.5% increase?
Yeah, it does look like that's what the board is
Okay.
Wanting to do.
Yep, no, that makes a lot of sense. Greg, did you have a follow-up? I saw your hand pop up real fast.
No, I just hit the wrong button.
Okay.
Oof, thank God. Greg's been throwing some heaters today, I tell you.
All right, anything else on the capital budget? Colleen, thanks for taking time out of your Saturday to join us. We really appreciate it. So next on the agenda is the Finance Committee's budget, which we've already voted to approve. So while we're on that, Evan, do you have an update on not that we ever want to get rid of Sue, but we have an update on Sue's replacement.
Yeah, so I have been re-advertising the position for, I guess it's just shy of 3 months now. We've done one round of interviews, of which only one candidate actually showed up. That candidate lived in Lowell and didn't seem like a good fit for the kind of work that we're expecting the position to do. So I do have a temp starting on Tuesday. Because I, that obviously that position is doing other things. I don't, I mean, and this would be a conversation I think we should have with Sue as well, but, I don't know that that would be a good transition plan. I've
Attempt,
just-
no, I agree. That's
yeah,
not a good
okay,
transition
so
plan.
just making sure, I'm right
Yep.
there with you. So I did just we re-upped the advertisement again.
Is it,
and
is it money wise? There's
I
not
don't-
enough money for the position? What do you think the issue is?
I think
Big
the
shoes to
position-
fill, probably.
Well, I think they watched one meeting with Sue and they're like, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not putting up with these people. Oh my God. No. So Sue, no, sorry. Sue, that was a different guy. So I think that they are, I think that I guess potentially is that we're, it's like, it's wearing 3 hats and it probably seems pretty, overwhelming with the amount of night obligation you might have and things like that. So what we've been talking about internally is that we'd like to give that one more shot. We've advertised it in a couple of different spots than we normally do. And so we're going to give it the next 3 weeks, see if we get good candidates. And if not, I think we'll come back to you and we'll be having a conversation about, what we need to do to maybe make that more attractive.
Okay, any comments from members of the finance committee on that position?
I,
Go ahead, Sue.
I
Go ahead.
just wondered if there was some way, if there is any possibility of somebody in-house that would be willing to take this on as a part-time position.
Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, I think that's something we could certainly talk about. Right now, we've combined the Affordable Housing Trust needs with FinCom's needs with Select Board's needs. And, so I think I'm right there with you. I think we do 3 more weeks. We see if we get a candidate pool or a viable candidate. And if not, then we're back to the drawing board and maybe we split it back up and we do something quicker. I don't know. I think it's something we're gonna
I
have to
thought for
look at.
sure when you went full-time that you would get applicants. I'm just really surprised that you didn't.
I'm telling you, this was my 3rd temp I'm bringing into the building right now because I cannot get people to apply for positions at all. I have one up. We had the benefits coordinator position. Great position. Had one really great applicant, made the offer. Everything was going fine. Called us on the next day and said, I'm not going to take it after all. And so we've had that. I have another temp in the assessor's office. And then the temp stopped showing up, which is great. So now we actually have, starting next week, the former assessor of the town of Munson, who retired. She is coming in as a temp to work part-time as the office. Well, I guess you'd call it the office manager position. But to help, I think Tammy's under a considerable amount of pressure and I think she's doing a great job, but it's a lot to do, especially with Mary and I constantly hounding about new growth. So, it's a tough hiring market right now. I don't think it's money. I think we're doing well. Our salary study shows that we're doing pretty well. I mean, we have things to change, but I don't know. It's very frustrating.
No, I understand. Dan, go ahead.
So first, at some point, I'm worried we're going to end up renaming Grafton New Munson. But anyway,
one step at a time, Dan. It's Munson. I'm calling it Munson East, or we can name Munson Grafton West, whatever you prefer.
But the reason I raised my hand, the real comment or question was, it seems to me like it's there are a few big drawbacks to the position the way it is. I feel like you're gonna have 3 bosses, first of all, with the 3 different committees, which doesn't sound like it's gonna be easy to manage. The sporadic evening commitments, I think, is another thing. It seems like it's just not a very attractive position,
Mhm.
especially considering people, people who are looking for a job like this have a lot of jobs to pick from. And, why would you pick something where there's sort of this, lack of a uniform schedule, predictable schedule. And yeah, it just seems like it's not something that people would want to do. So I guess with previous, the pre-COVID times when, there, I feel like people might be willing to put up with it, but right now, the way the job market is, it just seems like this is not anywhere close to the best opportunity available to people.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you raise a lot of good points, Dan. Hopefully on the re-advertisement, maybe we'll find the perfect candidate. We'll just come out of the woodwork. Who knows? As far as the three bosses, I think I understand that point, but one of the things that we set up for this is that the person will report to Evan. So basically Evan would be the boss and just assign that person to the various committees. So I don't know if that's as big a deal as it may sound, but I agree with you in terms of the schedule. You got the Affordable Housing Trust meets at night, Select Board meets at night. We meet, at night and on Saturdays, and some months we're meeting a lot, other months we're not meeting at all. So it does get a little confusing. So I understand that point, but who knows, maybe something will happen good. Did you have a follow-up, Dan, or
the so I just wanted to mention with the affordable housing, it, nothing formal, but sort of the general sort of feeling over there is not optimistic about this. So yeah, we're just not really expecting to see something at this point, but hopefully.
I hope Evan surprises you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Go ahead, Skip.
If so, having hired under this and had some of this trepidation about having three bosses, back when we hired a full-time agent for the Board of Health, we kind of didn't like the idea of sharing from a board perspective. So that might be translating into this, in the concept that somebody really doesn't want to come and work for three different places. If this doesn't work, you think about doing three single part-time jobs.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to.
Yep.
Which might be more attractive to somebody.
Yep. I think that's going to be our backup plan.
But keep in mind, Skip, when we first advertised Sue's position singly about a year ago, when Sue announced that she was leaving, we got nothing. So even then, it was a tough job market. Evan had set up some interviews, and Sue and I were going to participate. Sue Robbins and I were going to participate in those interviews, and then the people just canceled out. So we had people applying for the job that shouldn't have applied for the job. So I don't know if it's the three bosses or if it's just the job market right now is very, very difficult. But let's keep our fingers crossed, Evan.
Yeah, I think you find that the job market is weird. Like Evan said, you have a temp that just plain stops coming into work and doesn't even call.
I know, that's unbelievable.
Jesus.
That's unbelievable. Yep. That's crazy. Okay, so we're at a point right now where we have Mary's budget and all of Evan's budgets to go. The reserve fund, we're gonna leave at 75,000. Is the finance committee comfortable with that number at 75,000? Yeah, okay. So do we want to take a 15-minute break, grab a snack, do something, and then come right back in and jump in to all of Evan's budgets? Does that sound like something we can do right now? Go ahead, Greg.
There was an item before FinCom, the BVT FY23 budget memo review. Is that something we still need to do?
Oh, Sue, do we need to do that?
I think that was for preparation for Wednesday. If you want to put it at the end, I think that's fine.
Okay, thank you, Greg. My eyes went over that. I apologize.
Finance committee members, you've all received that memo. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that there was going to be an increase and understand where that was coming from.
Well, now that we've brought it up. Does anybody have any questions on that memo?
Not until the end of the meeting.
Hey, do I have the ability to mute Skip permanently in this meeting? Does anybody have any questions on that memo? So Wednesday night we'll be meeting with BVT, and we'll talk about that agenda for Wednesday, because the school, we have to talk about rescheduling the school committee to come in. So we'll talk about all that at the end, and some of the things we want to cover on that meeting on Wednesday, moving forward. So that said, why don't we take a 15-minute or say 20-minute break, and we'll come
11
back
o'clock.
at 11 o'clock to meet with Evan and Mary. All right.